So let's say you're a dancer for Bad Bunny and you knew what the situation is and then you made a bet. It sounds like that would be considered insider trading, right?
On February 10th, the CEO of Kalshi went on CNBC to brag about doing over $1 billion in Super Bowl betting. What happened next exposed serious questions about whether his platform could be a playground for insider traders. And the craziest part, he did it all while trying to defend his company. Let me show you exactly what happened, because this might be the most revealing interview a prediction market CEO has ever given. Kalshi is one of the two biggest prediction market platforms in America, and their Super Bowl numbers were absolutely insane. $1 billion in total trading volume. That's up 2,700% from last year. $500 million on the game, $100 million on what song Bad Bunny would open his halftime show with, and the classic bets like whether the coin toss would be heads or tails, or what color the Gatorade would be. Their CEO, Tarek Mansour, was ecstatic.
Kalshi was the biggest brand of the Super Bowl this year without running a Super Bowl ad.
But that's when CNBC hosts started asking questions that raised serious issues with how platforms like Kalshi actually work.
So let's say you're a dancer for Bad Bunny and you knew what the situation is and then you made a bet. It sounds like that would be considered insider trading, right?
The big dilemma with prediction markets revolves around insider trading. There are multiple documented cases involving insider trading accusations, many of which are covered in this video, and I'll leave a link in the description. In fact, several experts suggest that prediction markets were created to encourage people with inside information to place bets on certain props, so we would get a more accurate predictor of outcomes. Because somebody always knows something before it actually happens. But that belief is what makes the CEO's comments so confusing.
Well, the insider trading risk is very real for the stock market as well, and has been real since the stock market has begun.
But I feel like we control that and we can trace it. The SEC can very quickly find out who profits, by how much, and they shut that down. Do you do the same thing on Kalshi?
We do the exact same thing on Kalshi. So as a regulated financial market by the CFTC, we have the same rules as the NASDAQ and the NYSE, and we have the same mechanism of enforcement.
So here the CEO clearly says insider trading isn't allowed, but many would argue these markets were almost created for insider trading. The debate really lies in what information is classified as insider trading. As the debate started to heat up about what type of information is insider trading, Tarek was quick to point out that Kalshi has the same enforcement standard as the stock market. The CNBC hosts pressed him. They pointed out that in the stock market, corporate executives are legally required to keep certain information private. They can face criminal charges for leaking material information. But when it comes to Bad Bunny's dancers or production team, do they have the same legal obligation to keep this information private? They can post the set list on Instagram if they want. There's no law against it. But this is what Tarek had to say.
If that's the position that people are taking, which is essentially, this is non-material, it's non-material, non-public information. It's basically, it's okay to actually talk about which song is going to be played, or it's okay to be, to divulge a series of information beforehand, then that it's okay and it's totally fair game. And I agree with you in that case.
Becky Quick, the other CNBC host, absolutely destroyed his logic.
Yeah, but it's not non-material. It's not material information that can't be shared. You're making it that by putting it on this betting platform, but they have no obligation to say we're not going to tell anybody our opening lineup because there might be money made on this other place that's now betting on this. That's not the responsibility is not on them.
And she's completely right. Kalshi created a 100 million market on information that dozens of people already knew. The dancers, the production crew, the managers, the sound engineers. And Mansour's response? He tries to compare it to grain futures and farmers.
This has been an age-old question for all types of financial markets, right? Should the farmers be able to trade on grain futures, because they have more information about the crops?
Okay, but here's the thing. Yes, farmers are allowed to trade grain futures. That's literally how commodity markets work. That's his entire point falling apart in real time. And this isn't just theoretical. The evidence suggests that there could be insider trading happening on prediction markets. According to reports, a brand new account that was created less than 24 hours before the Super Bowl only placed bets on halftime props and allegedly hit every single bet. There were also accounts betting hundreds of thousands of dollars on Lady Gaga appearing in the halftime show before it was announced. One person allegedly dropped $500,000 on it. There were also betting influencers on Twitter claiming they had inside sources about which song would open the show, and the moment they posted, those songs jumped in the betting markets. Now, I will say most of these insider trading stories do seem to be happening on polymarket more than Kalshi. A big reason for that is Kalshi is regulated in the US, and all customers have to complete identity verification when signing up. For polymarket, it's a little more confusing. As of right now, they have one branch of polymarket that is considered offshore, and customers can use it anonymously. However, as part of a push to operate inside the US, they are working at rolling out a second branch inside the US. The important takeaway is that if insiders start placing bets on polymarket, Kalshi users could catch this and benefit themselves. And here's what makes all of this so frustrating. Mansour keeps saying we have the same enforcement mechanisms as the New York Stock Exchange. We're regulated by the CFTC. But when pressed on how they enforce insider trading on events like halftime shows, he can't give a real answer. The New York Stock Exchange deals with companies that are legally required to keep information private. There are laws. There are consequences. But Kalshi, they're creating markets on things where there are no legal protections. What song will Bad Bunny sing? Not protected information. Will Mark Wahlberg attend the Super Bowl? Not protected information. Which celebrity will show up at an awards show? Not protected information. And the Kalshi madness and worries about insider trading don't stop at the Super Bowl. On February 6th, Giannis Antetokounmpo, two-time NBA MVP, one of the biggest stars in basketball, announced he's now a shareholder in Kalshi. At first glance, that might not sound like a big deal, but the timing of it has raised some alarms. That's because this announcement came one day after the NBA trade deadline, and more importantly, right after one of the biggest betting props on Kalshi had ended. There was a market on whether Giannis would get traded, and it had over 23 million in trading volume. Now let me be clear, there's no evidence Giannis did anything wrong. Kalshi says he's not allowed to trade on NBA markets, and there's no proof he or anyone he knows placed bets on this market. But come on, the optics are terrible. ESPN's Dan Wetzel wrote a column titled "Giannis Kalshi Deal Does NBA No Favors." And honestly, that might be the understatement of the year. With the NBA having several players get suspended and banned for betting on games over the last couple of years, the last thing people expected was for one of the league's superstars to announce a deal with a betting market. And while it's clear that players can't bet on games, we're all left wondering if they'll be able to be on props related to the game. Let's zoom out for a second. Remember from our last video, a blockchain analyst studied 1.7 million polymarket addresses. 70% of users lost money. That analysis found that of those 30% who made money, less than 0.04% captured 70% of all profits. 3.7 billion concentrated in roughly 700 accounts. That's about 5.3 million each. You think those 700 accounts are just better at research? Or do you think that maybe, just maybe, they have information advantages that normal users don't? Kalshi says that they're regulated by the CFTC. Okay, cool. But the CFTC regulates commodity futures, soybeans, oil, wheat, but they haven't traditionally regulated entertainment integrity. So monitoring whether Bad Bunny's dancers are betting on the halftime show is new territory. And different states are treating these platforms differently. Nevada and New Jersey sent cease and desist letters saying Kalshi is violating gambling laws. Kalshi sued them and had mixed outcomes in court, with some states ruling in favor and others against. Even DraftKings and FanDuel's prediction markets aren't available in all 50 states. These platforms are operating in a regulatory black hole. They're not stock markets. They're not sports books. They exist in between, where nobody's really watching. And when nobody's watching, bad things happen. If you ever actually need money, don't fall into the trap of a payday loan. Use a trusted loan provider, like CreditNinja. You can apply and get up to $5,000 same day. Look, I get the appeal of these platforms. I've used them myself. They make you feel like there's a way to beat the system. Like if you just pay attention and do your research, you can make money. But that CNBC interview revealed something important. Even the CEO can't clearly explain whether or not some situations should be considered insider trading or just regular trading. Prediction markets were created to aggregate information, and the best information comes from insiders. They just don't advertise it that way. When you're betting on what song Bad Bunny will open with, are you competing against other casual fans trying to guess? Or are you competing against someone who was literally at the rehearsal? When you're betting on whether Giannis gets traded, are you analyzing public reports? Or are you up against someone with a direct line to NBA executives? We may never know, and something tells me the controversy is only getting started. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.